Hey everybody, I'm Bob Baker with Jazz Guitar Today, and I'm here with Davy Mooney, uh, one of our favorite people in the whole wide world that plays the guitar. So, and I'm really glad to see you. It's been a month, or maybe.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, you got the coat and the stash going on. You could be a character in a movie there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
am a character in a movie. It's the Davy Mooney
the
story.
Davy Mooney
Bob.
story. Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
starring in it.
So, anyway, you have a new book.
I do. I'm always cranking stuff out, Bob. And so yeah, it's been a while. I wrote it back in the fall of last year, about a year ago. So it's nice to it's
Well,
finally out. I'm
I'm
excited.
I'm gonna tell you, I read the text before we got to the meat of the book,
Hmm.
and that takes some doing to get through that text.
Oh yeah.
It's very um, it's and I mean this in a complimentary way. It's very thick. Uh,
Yeah, I mean it's
so
short but thick. It's like a
yeah,
chapter
you
of
have to. Well, are you familiar with the author John le Carre?
yeah, of course.
Oh, all right. Well, most people, I mean, a lot of people are, but I
Spy
mean,
Who Came In From the Cold.
his work is fantastic, but you have to, I'm a little, am I? All right. I think I'm back again. It was a little bit delayed there.
Oh really? I saw you. Okay.
Yeah, his work is fantastic, but it requires a reader who is engaged. You can't read his work
You'll miss things. You'll be like, who's
without
that character?
paying real attention to what's going on. Otherwise, you're just not going to get it. And so
Yeah.
I'm comparing your introduction to your book to a John le Carre novel. I mean
Ooh,
it is yeah, well you got the whole look going right now, you got the
I know.
coat and the thing, yeah, the author
But
kind of.
I didn't get paid as much as John le Carre, Bob.
No,
My
probably
royalties are
probably not. Yeah, they
insane.
they sent that check to me, Davey.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Anyway, um, but
Oh.
this is a excuse the expression. This is a hell of an undertaking that you got going.
Oh.
I, I
Well,
went I went through a lot of the I quickly went through a lot of the stuff,
mhm.
and I thought to myself, you could spend a long time. If you buy this book and get into it, it'll keep you busy. You know.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, and talking about, the introduction a little bit, I guess let me just, so this is the book. I finally got my hard copy. It's like so the title is very practical. I was trying to come up with a snazzy title, but I just kept it simple: How to Achieve Great Jazz Phrasing, a Practical Method.
Yeah.
And most of it focuses on the practical, but like you said, the introduction, I felt like if I'm going to talk about this subject of phrasing, I should probably address like the sort of classical world's take on it and
Right.
have at least a nod to the academic in that first chapter.
Well, I
So,
thought it was great. I mean, I was saying, wow, Davy
yeah.
Davy really does have an education.
Yeah, like I dipped my toe in it. I realized after like for instance, one thing like comparing, phrases, musical phrases to forms of speech like anaphora, the
Yeah.
idea of like starting, like in poetry, starting each line with the same phrase, like every breath you take, every breath you take, every move you make.
Right.
And there's a lot of like jazz phrases in melodies and in people's solos where you start, you know, a series of phrases with the same idea. I mean,
Right.
Joe Pass does that in his solo on Relaxing at Camarillo that I didn't actually end up doing in the book. But you start to, and I realized that like if I go down this road, this is like going to be whoa. I didn't want to write that kind of book. I wanted it to be more practical, like the issue that I'm trying to address as like a jazz guitar teacher is phrasing is almost like the final frontier of development, or it was for me for sure. Like once you figure out, say I've got 3 books or whatever. So one is like you figure out where all the notes are on the fretboard,
Right.
you got your scales, you know where things are. Then you want some jazz vocabulary so it sounds like a jazz record. And to me, like if there's a definition of jazz phrasing, it's like the organization of ideas in a jazz solo. Like how do you put it together and so that it's most effective.
Y-
And it's a tricky thing to teach or to come up with a method other than just tell students, well, yeah, listen to like how they did it and try to do it like them, kind of thing. Um,
Which I hate, by the way.
well, in one
No,
sense,
no, no. It's to learn. It's a great way to do it. I
yeah,
mean, if you're learning how to work on cars back when you could work on cars, you went over and you saw Charlie over there.
yeah,
He's adjusting valves. You want to learn how to do it, you go over and watch Charlie adjust valves, and then you kind of do what he did. I mean, that's true of everything that every practical skill that's been handed down from person to person is monkey see monkey do, if you will.
Mhm,
And so there's nothing, transcription is I mean, I mean, obviously it's a valid tool because everybody does it,
mhm.
and it works really, really well. The only where my comment came from is when I would go to a jam session and I would hear a verbatim solo, from like from one of the artists, like somebody transcribed a solo, learned it, and went to the jam session, didn't have an original thought in their head, but they got the verbatim out. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I was going with that. But
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's difficult. And I tell this anecdote in the beginning. The way this idea came to me is I had a student, reminded me a little of myself, like a few years ago. One of the best that I've ever worked with, and I call him Joe in the book. So Joe, Joe was like so full of like fire, and like he would come in. His lesson was like the first one in the morning, and he was just ready to go, and he was just like, "Bah-da-da-da-da-da." And he had so much stuff and so much passion, and the thing was it was kind of too much, but
right.
you don't, it's hard to like as a teacher, hard to say that, especially we're all very sensitive, so I didn't want to be like, and there's all these cliches like, oh, take the horn out of your mouth, take your time, leave some space. But I realized that, like, okay, well, I could tell him that. On the one hand, I don't want to quench that fire. I don't want to be the one
Yeah,
that like
no,
got in his head and he's like, oh no, I'm playing too much, I'm playing too little. um, and so what I came up with, and basically what the book, the practical part of it is, was I think at the time we were doing like some Bud Powell solos because they do transcriptions here,
right,
and
sure.
so
Well, you have to do transcriptions.
of
I'm not
course,
putting down transcriptions. I mean, I did transcriptions when I was in college.
yeah.
So
So the next step was, or what suddenly occurred to me is, since we were doing them on Finale, it's like, or any notation program, I was like, why don't you switch that transcription into rhythmic notation, so you can't see what the notes are, but you can see where he played and where he didn't play. And then let's play the solo, or improvise using that phrase structure. Like, we don't necessarily have to play the exact rhythms that he played, but like in Finale, it makes a lot of sense. You switch to rhythmic notation and you can just see the organization. And I find too, it's like when you look at a really good solo, well constructed solo on the page, there's a certain like beauty to it. You can see like a lot going on and then a little pause. There's just, it looks kind of nice. So that's what we would do, and hopefully it helped him. I have a student now working on the book, and it's actually really helped their phrasing, in the sense that for me, as a guitar player, I was so, once I could play changes and I knew where all the notes were on the guitar, and I could play eighth notes, and I'm coming from Pat Martino and people like that, it was
yeah,
very hard for me to not play all the time. Like, I might almost like lose, if I stopped, I might lose my, like, lose the flow and lose the plot. Like, I wanted to show, I was so proud of myself that I could play these chords. So it took me a long time. I'd say just in the last 10 years, I think most, I think about phrasing more than anything when I'm improvising. And by that, I mean organization. How am I organizing all this stuff that I have in my fingers into a
You
coherent
know,
state?
I'm going to make a couple comments about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think about this a lot, believe it or not. I mean, it's
I believe you.
because I by nature of doing what I do with the magazine, I have to listen to a lot of, not have to, but I listen to a lot of guitar players play, and they're all some of the best in the world. I mean, the guys that I listen to are in the magazine. These are the guys,
Yeah.
And so I'm going, well, and then you see a guy on YouTube, and you go, what's the difference between that guy and this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Why? I mean, this guy's playing. a lot of notes, and he's hitting the right notes in the scale. He's doing all the things he's supposed to do. And I've actually heard players, they'll play like a Wes solo,
Hmm.
verbatim. I mean, verbatim. And then Wes will play the solo. And there's no comparison in the way that Wes is playing draws you in. And this other guy is like, I mean, he's playing it all. I mean, he's playing it perfectly correct. I mean, if you were grading him, you'd have to say, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
you got it all. But there's a nuance, and it is so subtle that really separates what's compelling to the human spirit and what's just a nice thing to look at. It's like, I guess it'd be like painting. It's why does Van Gogh bring you in, but Greta Van Fleet just whatever. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
well, I was here. So here's something I was going to say. First of all, about your comment about the too many notes all the time. BB King said in one of his videos, you don't, it's a conversation. When you're having a conversation, you don't yell at them all the time.
Mhm.
And I thought about that because BB King was the master of understatement, obviously. But
Mhm.
here's something that occurred to me the other day because people would and I want your take on this, okay? That's why I'm
Mhm.
setting this up. I'm doing too much talking and not enough listening, but I really want to get your opinion on this because this has been driving me a little bit
Your
batty.
phrasing is beautiful, Bob. You're phrasing everything very well.
Well, thank you very, very much. I'm taking the horn out of my mouth right now. Okay, it's back. Um, so I think that you need to choose who your audience is because I've heard people, complain about Ingve.
Uh-huh.
I've heard people complain about, all the guys that can play fast, Monster Child. You hear people complain about Al Di Meola. I mean, even, I mean, let me plug my, I'm going to lose my computer. Well, I guess we don't need, well, I don't want to lose the computer because it's got some conversation in it that you
You've
and
run out of charge.
yeah, it's this computer. It's not the one that we're talking on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, you know what? We're just going to have to slow it down a little bit. Let me see what we got here. Oh, I got 10%. We'll have plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay. So, and people will say, oh, Ingve, this, he's too busy, too many notes, all this kind of stuff. Well, I thought, you know, he's brilliant or
I
was
like
brilliant,
some English.
and so is Matteo Mancuso, and so is Josh Meter, and they
Those guys
all
are
play
great.
a lot of notes. And, but so it's something that I've come to realize, well, why was Ingve poo-pooed in his time? And there's a lot of people that play fast, but everybody loves Mateo and everybody loves Josh,
Yeah.
And so I mean I realize there's some things going on, but they're playing a lot of notes, and that's because
Mhm.
I'm thinking that it depends on who you're playing for.
Mhm.
I mean if you if you're playing for an audience that can digest that speed and understand what you're doing, to them it's just music. They don't hear it as a lot of notes. They hear the musicality of it,
Mhm.
as opposed to people that like when you hear, well, you've got to phrase it, so that take that's so that the layperson can understand what's going on.
Mhm.
That kind of phrasing, this is my conversation. That kind of phrasing is not necessarily for the the John Coltrane's of the world who just
Mhm.
blew a million notes. But the
Mhm.
people that were listening to John, when he was doing all that, were the musicians, and
Mhm.
he did he would lose your guy that says, "Oh, jazz is just all the wrong notes and all that kind of stuff." Whereas the musicians, no, they don't hear it that way.
Spinal Tap. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all the wrong notes. It's all the wrong. Well, it's not all the wrong notes. You just don't understand what the hell they're doing. And I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of my thing. I'm just wondering if is it because they're playing too many notes, or is it because the audience, you have to choose what audience you're playing for, and understand that you don't want to, if you're talking to a 6-year-old about something, about anything technical, you have to explain it to them in a way that they can digest it. But if you're talking to a 60-year-old who's got a PhD, you don't have to dial it down. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with this whole thing.
I
You're
think it does. Yeah, and I would say too, it's you can play a lot of notes. What I'm trying to deal with in this book and help my students with and myself with is the organization of it. And another analogy is I feel like musical phrasing can kind of be like Morse code in the sense that you can play long phrases, but if you go long, 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 it's not maybe as effective as long, long, short, long, medium, long, long,
right.
short, long, long, long. And a lot of the solos that basically what I do in the book is each chapter is an excerpt of a solo from a different type of or different jazz musician, all sort of like famous people, and just kind of showing, putting them into rhythmic notation. And then I actually play, I demonstrate that. I play the phrases and I have my own improvisation on the phrases. And one thing that's common with all of them, I think, is that breaking up. And I mean, one is Lester Young, so he doesn't play as many notes as I have Eric Dolphy in there, who plays a lot. But he plays a lot, and he plays a lot, and then he plays a little, and then he plays a little, and then he plays a lot. And maybe the overall effect to someone who's not into like avant-garde jazz is like, man, that's a lot of stuff. But maybe like you were saying, what separates Eric Dolphy from the next alto sax free jazz shredder to me is a lot of it has to do with the organization and the phrasing and the way that things are presented. So even when there's a ton of stuff, there's also points of rest. And I
Mhm.
think that's the same thing. I mean, in terms of like the audience, I always say maybe this is a different, slightly different subject, but I feel like instrumental music will always have a smaller audience than vocal music. And I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
sometimes with the guitar players, BB, one of the great things about him, besides his playing, is the great singing too. So it's immediately going to be more accessible. We're dealing with like in my book and in teaching jazz and stuff, it's something that's immediately it's very abstract
Right.
to even to a lot of musicians. It's not just uh, so you're losing like 90% probably more of the people right there. And then I think that to have the effect, I mean, I play a lot of notes too, but what I think about, I remember listening back to some records of me and like I'm always playing like with John Ellis will do a solo and then I'll do one. And I remember being so frustrated. I was like, man, I wanted to go back and like I liked everything I played, but I wanted to go back and just erase little parts of it because I felt like the sentences were sort of run-on sentences, and I was
Yeah,
like, you were done there, and you just should have stopped, and then you could have started the next thing.
right,
And that's kind of what I'm trying to do is those students that are and us improvisers that are we get so excited and we're passionate about it and we
right.
want to play and we learned how and the chords and we got them, and then you hear it back and you're like, why did I have to play all of them? you know. And you sort of know intellectually before you start, yeah, you got to leave space, you got to do this, but you get kind of caught up in the moment. So this is sort of a method to if you're playing the phrases of say like I start with Dexter Gordon because I think he's very I mean he's one of my favorites
Right.
and like sort of straight ahead hard bop. I love his phrasing. That's one of it, it's almost like when I hear him play it's like he's talking to me. Like it all makes sense. Maybe it wouldn't to someone who doesn't understand that kind of vocabulary, but
Right.
it's a very vocal kind of conversational type thing. And if you look at it, it's yeah, he goes short, long, long, medium, short, long, long, and it's all spaced out in a way like a conversation would be with
Right.
another person. So that's one take on what you're saying.
Well, let's talk about the book specifically.
Sure.
Um, Man, hats off. That's a lot to do. So
Yeah.
you basically um you've got it, chapter 2. You've got
Mm-hmm.
Dexter. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going through that whole thing. You got Lester is chapter 3, Dolphy is
Bless you.
chapter 4, Joe Pass is chapter 5, Keith Jarrett's 6, Miles Davis is 7, Bud Powell is 8, Kenny Dorham is 9, and Davy Mooney is 10.
I had to put myself in
All
there. You know.
masters of all masters of the art. So so for people that are wanting to get a concise as possible bath in all of the different masters and styles. I mean, you've curated this group of masters, and you outline how they went about it, and you're spoon feeding it to people to let them learn to increase their own vocabulary and understand what them. So you're doing more than transcribing and handing it to them.
Hmm.
You're really teaching them, this is the Gordonish way. This is the Gordon way of doing it. This is the Lester Young way. This is the mile, you know, and and that's an incredibly industrious undertaking and really, really cool. Um, I went through the text to the best of my ability, and I went, wow, there's a lot going on here. So I endorse the book. I think it's a really cool thing. And I think it's well laid out. It's very practical. It certainly gives you a heavy, heavy, heavy dose of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Bob. And just to kind of explain how each chapter is organized. So, like when I get
Please.
into the meat of it, it was funny. The initial draft I wanted to have. So I take an excerpt from a specific solo of each person, but I mean, you kind of get into some copyright issues when you print that whole thing, or at least potential. So
Yeah.
we decided that it would be better to, in terms of the notes that aren't mine, like the notes of Dexter Gordon, I take even like sort of smaller excerpts of a couple phrases of his to
Right.
talk about the content of it. But the main thing is, so, for instance, the second chapter is his solo on "You Stepped Out of a Dream" from the album "Swingin' Affair."
Right.
It's the first two choruses, and it's in rhythmic notation, so you can just see where he played and where he didn't. And then after that, I improvise with the track. Of course, there's also a track for you to do this for people to.
Mhm.
So there's a track with me doing it and a track without me, with just bass and drums and comping. And so I play the phrases, and then that's transcribed in case you want to like practice what I did.
Right.
But the idea is to, listen to what Dexter did, maybe check out, listen to what I did, and then you do it.
Right.
And so each chapter is structured that same way with a different player, like the players we just talked about. And it's some of my favorite solos. I sit here and do this all day, every day. Been obsessing over this stuff. I realize it's over 30 years now. I started doing this when I was 14, like not the teaching part, but the just obsessing over
Right. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wrote this during my sabbatical. This was like my sabbatical project a year ago. So I'd had the idea for a long time, and I'd been talking about it with students. And I figured I would just like, this was a good project.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, the practical part is like, okay, we can talk about this. We can get into the super theoretical thing of like the classical world and how they think of phrases, and then we can also like do the super general jazz thing of like, hey man, just try to leave some space,
Do
man,
you
and
have
like
a
take.
guitar close by? Do you have a guitar
I
close by?
I can go grab one real quick.
Yeah,
Do
go
you
ahead. Let's try to make that happen.
yeah. You can edit this part out.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll probably leave it in just to keep it real.
I was on a camping trip, so the
I don't
guitar
know
was
if
with
we
me.
can. Let me see if I can get what can you see what your fingers are doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because if I knew how to get rid of me real fast, I would, but I don't think I can. Okay, good. So now, do you know how to do original sound from musicians in your audio?
Oh yeah. Hey man, I taught on Zoom during COVID.
Yeah,
Although they keep changing, I have to say,
I know they
I
they do
once
keep changing it.
I once knew how to do it very well, and they used to have that button like right
Yeah,
on the screen,
I
and
think
it's
if you
not there
go to the
anymore.
audio section,
Yeah, that's usually okay. Audio settings.
let me
Gotta
see,
be over there.
audio settings.
Look how they
Yeah,
changed.
if you go to the audio section, audio settings, um,
They changed it though.
again,
How dare
I
they?
hate these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to
There's the
scroll
zoom.
down.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems to have. It used to be just right on the thing because
Oh
they
no, you
cared
need to
about.
scroll it down. Scroll
Does it
down,
say?
and you'll see
Okay,
audio profile, and it'll say
okay, yeah, I
original
see
sound
that.
from musicians.
How come I don't have that? I don't see that on mine. I see Zoom background noise removal and browser
Did
built-in
you
noise
go
suppression.
to you might need to update it. Did you
Yeah,
go to audio and then to all right, and then it shows the test microphone and all that kind of stuff?
yeah. Let's see.
Can you scroll
Audio
down?
options, text speaker, microphone. Yeah, it doesn't let me go down very far.
Okay, so it's not
Sorry,
there.
sorry. It's annoying. I didn't think about this. I would have had this
No, it was just a last second thing. Okay, well
figured out
so we're
before.
not going to be able to do that because we won't hear the
Okay.
notes. Yeah,
Sorry. What
it's
we're gonna? I
not.
was gonna have to demonstrate this on the spot.
Well, I was just going to get you to show people you want to rechange your camera focus or camera angle there because
Okay. Yeah.
we lost you.
Here I am.
There you
I'm
are.
back.
Okay. Well, I was just going to have you do a quick, here's an example of a Dexter, here's an example of a Bud, kind of thing. But that's okay. People, you got
Yeah.
that the book is there. It's got it all
Yeah.
for you and no problem there.
Yeah. You can
Um,
get that book.
well, I tell you what, I think it's great, and the book is now out. It's available.
Yeah, it's Mel Bay. This is my third book for them. I have Into the Labyrinth, which is goes into how I figured out the fretboard, basically like my
Yeah,
journey. There's personalizing jazz vocabulary, which was sort of how I uh, incorporated vocabulary from actual transcriptions and solos,
right.
and it's always been about the practicality of it too, like how and the personal way that I did it. And I like to, like you said at the beginning of the book, I like to of all these books, I like to give a little nod to maybe the more theoretical and more academic. But then the point isn't to really go that far down that road. It's to because we're all trying to get better at playing and improvising, right? And
Right.
and as we know about jazz, it's very in the moment, and you have to be ready. You can't stop to think about it. It has to be. So the new one is the phrasing thing, which to me was the last piece of the puzzle that I still think about a lot. That's what's
Oh,
going through my head when I'm soloing. It's like, how am I organizing this? Is this where do I want to go? Where do I want to develop?
well,
And a lot of that is phrase to phrase.
when I sit at home, I've got about six guitars out. That's all I work on is phrases and and how do I put this one together with that, and I'm just that's all I'm doing all day for. I probably play guitar still I just turned 75. I
Oh,
probably still play at least 2 hours a day. I mean, at least, and have it's like Pablo Picasso. People, why are you doing that? Well, I think I'm getting better. And it's not about because when I was in my 20s, I could play I was a chops monster. I could play as fast as anybody that was playing at the time. And now I don't even think about speed anymore. I think about just having a conversation with people. And I can say that because I did achieve a lot of speed at one point in time. And but that's all I do when I'm practicing is I'm just thinking about phrasing, about conversational phrasing. And I'm usually talking to myself, which is a really
yeah.
bad habit.
Well, the phrases you say that, but I also think that in a great jazz solo, the phrases sort of are in conversation with one another. And
Oh, absolutely.
when I did my dissertation, like on Joe Pass, the thing that I really realized that I love so much about the 1960s Joe Pass, like For Django and Catch Me and Joy Spring, is
Right.
each phrase really flows logically to the next one. And it's like he says something, and then it's like, huh, how about that? And then that. And they just one leads to the other.
Yeah,
And there is a
he,
conversation going on.
he takes you on a hike.
Mm-hmm.
He takes you on
A
a
walkabout.
musical hike. You get out of the car, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get on the trail, and you see a deer over there, and then you see a little
Oh, I just,
waterfall and a creek, and ooh, there's a pass over there, and hey, let's go over there for a few minutes. I mean, he takes you on a hike, and
yeah.
it's all a story that's being told, and it's like that's Well, that's why he's considered the great Joe Pass because,
And the phrasing is a very big part of that. But and I mean like the organization of his ideas and
yeah,
the fact that it's different phrase lengths. It's not always the same.
yeah. Well, if you were describing a trip and you never took a breath,
Mhm.
I mean, you just say, well, there is a deer and here he is, and now, there, but even we over there, and there's a lake, and we, I would just go, you know,
Yeah.
shut that guy off, go away. Hey, Bob, shut up, It would be that kind of conversation with your whoever you're hiking with. So
Hmm.
I don't know where that analogy slash metaphor came from, but it seems to work pretty well. So one of the other things that I wanted to mention
Hmm.
here is there are a lot of teachers out there, and there's a lot of books, and there's a lot of very good books out there about
Hmm.
all kinds of things having to do with jazz. Uh, for those of you who don't know, Davey, you've been at the University of North Texas for how long?
This is my ninth year, Bob.
All right, your ninth year. You've been teaching
Great.
for how many years?
Oh God. I mean, I started teaching in high school,
Right.
so I don't know, 28, 27 years.
And and how many students do you think you've taught over the years? Just guess.
Well, in jazz, I mean, it depends. I mean, since I've been here,
No,
it's been
not jazz,
about
just
just
overall.
in general.
Yeah.
Probably like over 100 for sure, 200. I don't know, somewhere in there. It's hard to estimate. I
Well,
have to do a little
yeah.
math.
I think you're keeping the number down.
How many a year? Yeah, I
Uh,
guess I've had more
no,
than
no,
10 a
no, no,
year.
period. I mean, how many over your course of your lifetime, how many you think
That's what
you,
I'm saying. If I've been teaching for 27 years and 10 a year, I don't know, probably more than 10 a year. I don't know,
yeah.
250, 300. I don't know.
Well, you're
I'm not a
lucky if
math
you're
professor.
lucky if you only had to teach 10 a year because a lot of guys go through 10 a month. I mean, like,
Well, lessons, if you want to count the lessons, we're getting in thousands for sure.
yeah. All right. So my point is that, University of North Texas is one of the top schools in the world slash country. And you're the guy.
For
And
jazz guitar here,
yeah,
yes.
you're the guy in jazz guitar, and you're also a performer. You're also a recording artist, and you're just a perpetual student of this stuff. What I'm trying to tell people here is that look, uh, Dr. Mooney, who you never go by that, I know, but you do hold a PhD.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, you do. I
Dr.
don't
Davy.
don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know.
Well,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of,
I
yeah.
know, but you do hold a PhD. My point in all of this is that um, if you're going to learn this crap, you might as well learn it from someone who really knows what the hell he's talking about, has been there, not only does he toot his own horn, and am I tooting his horn, but the fact that, he's the guy at one of the top schools in the world. That's I know I'm blowing a lot of smoke up your skirt right now, but try
I
not to
love
get
it.
not
I
try
love
not
it.
to get too embarrassed, but Davey is certainly a wonderful person to get your information from. And um,
Thank
and the other thing about you, which I love, is you're very accessible.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You know,
I'm trying to pass it along, you know what I mean? This is just all this information is was passed to me, and I
right,
don't see any reason to like hoard it. And I'm very fortunate. I have a full time job, so um, this is in some ways it's like helps recruit students. Obviously, like when
sure,
I'm out here talking about my teaching, and I will say this about just all the books and everything is I just try to make things very practical. That's kind of my whole thing, and that's part with the
right,
title is like because we can talk this stuff to death, and we can but like what do you actually what's an actual method that we could or I could come up with that would help you to actually like crack the nut of like how to make your jazz phrasing a little more effective. And so and the
right.
same thing with the other books. That's really what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
and you can go on YouTube and hear your performances.
Me, yeah, I'm all over the place. I'm very
Yeah.
on
Well,
the
not
on
only
the
as a
web.
teacher, but as a performer.
Oh yeah, I just got back from Japan. That's why I owe you, or I should get some videos to you soon. But
Yeah,
I've been
please.
I'm jet lagged still. I did a little tour for like a week,
Yeah.
and I try to keep busy, as much as I can because if I'm not performing and not playing, like trying to play on that top level, it's like what do I actually have to be
No,
teaching?
you got to do it. I mean, this is, music performance on an instrument is, I tell people, if you're a historian or something like that, everything happens here.
Hmm.
If you're an athlete like a football player, everything happens on the field.
Hmm.
When you're a musician and you're playing an instrument, you got to get the physical part of it together and the mental part of it together, and you have to make those things somehow gel into a cohesive unit to come forward and present. And
Hmm.
that's why music is so hard because
Oh
you
yeah.
got two things, the two major things you got the physical, you've got the mental, you have to put all that together. It's not
You're
easy.
like the athlete and the coach. You have to be the
Right?
coach and Messi and whoever's coaching
Yeah,
Miami
you
right
got to be all those guys, and you also have to be able to come on the outside and look at yourself,
now. Yeah,
and
and be the audience.
and be the audience. What am I playing here? Is this good? Is this bad?
And you got to sell the tickets
Yeah,
and build the stadium. No,
you gotta sell the tickets,
you're
and
everything
then
on the team.
and you have to be your own cheerleader because
Promotion. Yeah, keep going.
in performance, I mean, yeah, people are gonna come up to you and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, none of this is what I'm gonna call easy. So you have to be
No,
passionate and you have to have the
that's for
fire
sure.
burning, like your buddy Joe,
Mm.
whose real name is Joseph, by the way.
Joseph Pasalacqua or the my guy, my
No, your
pseudonym.
guy.
Yeah, Joseph
You're a fictitious guy. Your student.
Joey.
You said Joe is that's not his name. I said yeah, his real name is Joseph.
Joseph.
What else you want somebody to know about your about the project? Show the picture again of the book.
All right. Where'd I put it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I think I've tried to cover. There's also in the back, again, in a nod to maybe the academic, I have sort of like suggested listening and suggested
Well,
reading.
I was just gonna say to you, you can go online to look at these, get these files and all that kind of stuff. So,
Here we have the ebook. Melbe
yeah,
always says that.
so all this is it's completely full of information that you can for if you're a visual learner, you can get it that way. If you're a if you have to read it, whatever. It's all.
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask you a question that you didn't know I was going to ask you.
Oh, okay.
But I think it would be interesting for people to what guitar players are playing today that you admire, listen to, think are doing cool things and all of that?
Hmm.
Who's on the scene? I'm not talking about your favorites of all time. I'm not talking about Wes or
Yeah, like current folks.
who is out there. Can you give me 3 to 5 names of people that maybe
Sure.
other people people could check into?
Yeah, I mean it's
Now
it's
they
it's
have to.
kind of
Here's a couple
easy.
caveats. They have to have something recorded that people can listen
Oh,
to,
of course.
in videos, and be
Yeah,
on the scene. I
as
got this
most people do.
student that I taught back in '95, and he plays at home in his
This is
basement for
great.
his mother with a bag of Cheetos and a bottle of Yoo-Hoo. But he's
Oh,
killer.
dear.
I've had that before. So
No, I mean,
who are 3 to 5 guys you'd like to call out and mention?
well, yeah, I would just say, of my generation, and I guess there's actually like another generation after me. But I mean, I always grew up admiring Mike Moreno. I mean, we're kind of the same age,
Yep.
and I tell my students, Mike, and then I also Charles Altura, who's a little younger than us, and Max Light. I give the three examples of them just off the top of my head because I told my students it used to be like there were the guys that had the chops and the guys that had and gals that had the musicality, and there
Right.
was sort of a separation. And now,
Right.
like the new model jazz guitar player has everything,
Yeah. No. That they're.
and it's really like terrifying and frustrating. But those are three guys, sort of my generation and a little younger, who I think have the most insane chops that
Right.
have ever been chopped on the instrument, but they also have the musicality. And also, like, Lage Lund, because I did that monk competition with him back in '05, and
Right.
he won, and he got the gold, and I got the bronze. But I mean, he's incredible. That's some young guys. I mean, Pasquale, of course, is like, I remember growing up and hearing the Joe Pass solo stuff, like particularly the live concerts, and always thinking like, well, no one will ever do this, like, or even touch this. And then of course someone comes along and like the level now, the bar for what solo jazz guitar. I mean, and his group playing is amazing too, but
Yeah,
the bar for what solo guitar jazz stuff is has now been
he was on
put
our
in
cover last
ridiculous.
month. He was on our cover last month, and of course, we've interviewed him several times. Pasquale, we're talking about,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I mean, he's he's pretty otherworldly. He's
Yeah, I know. He's going to be our guest artist at the fall concert, which is great.
oh
Which I actually didn't suggest. It was, I mean, I would have, but I didn't know it was my place. But actually, Alan Baylock, the director of the 1 o'clock, was like, "How about Pasquale?" I was like,
yeah. Well,
"Sounds good to me, buddy."
he's a young guy. He's not even 40.
Yeah, but again, it's like that the chops with the musicality now.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the new paradigm is
You
that
gotta have it. You gotta have
you
it
have
all
both.
together.
It's
Yeah.
absurd. Yeah,
Yeah. He
but
can.
Max Light is a great player too. He's a real young guy. I don't know if you're as
It's
familiar with
funny you
him.
say that because that name. This is the second time in a week or two that somebody's brought him, and I don't know who he is. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
gotta check.
definitely look him
I think
up
he's only 30. He's young. Yeah.
and reach out to him. Well, most of the great artists of the world created all their best stuff before they were 26.
Hmm.
And scientists as well. Isaac Newton.
Hmm.
Look up what Isaac Newton did before he was 25 years old, 26 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Einstein was young too, right?
but yeah,
Like,
all the Hendrix and people like that, their records. Look at the stuff we're still listening to, the Beatles and all. These guys were
they were
kids.
young.
It pisses me off on a daily basis, to be honest with you. It's like no, the level. Well, I'm a big Josh Meter guy.
Yeah, no, he's amazing.
I mean,
Wonderful.
Josh has got the chops. He's got the music. He's
Mhm.
studied. He's all in, like all these guys. And that's something
Mhm.
that's really important to note is that if you're not all in, then just know this is a hobby. Because if you're going to hit the pro level and all of that, or try to, you gotta be really, really on top of your game, and because the other guys are just crazy passionate, and they're gonna, it's a competitive world out there at the top of jazz guitar because the market is so small compared to the
Mhm.
rest of the music market. I think I've told this story a million times that jazz is about 1%. All jazz, about 1% of the music market. And
Mhm.
I figure guitar is probably a tenth of that because you got piano players, you got I mean all the people that play jazz. That's one
It's probably vocalists is 99.99% of that
I
1%.
I wouldn't doubt it all.
Because vocal music, instrumental music will never compete with vocal music, and it
I
makes
I
sense.
I I the only reason I give it 1% of 1% or 10% of
Mhm.
1% is because I don't want anybody to get upset with me.
Okay. Maybe there's a few guys. Matheny must take a little chunk in there.
Oh,
He's got a
well,
market share.
it's really funny. A guy like that,
Bless his heart. I love him to death.
he's
Deeply.
almost
I
pop.
don't know him personally, but I love his music.
No, but he's almost pop. He doesn't really. He kind of transcends, the jazz thing, and it's not smooth jazz, not by any stretch of imagination. But
Composition.
I think
Yeah.
he transcends the genre that goes into jazz.
For sure.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a different ballgame. All right, what else you got? Anything?
Oh man, I'm just doing my thing. I'm in the semester now. I mean, we talked about the most recent record. I just was in Japan. The
Right.
Word that's been
Yeah.
out for a little while. And yeah, this book
Phenomenal.
I'm going to start doing some more videos and just getting back into the swing of things. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just doing dad stuff and just keeping
That's
very
the
busy.
You know what? That's the most important thing of it all. At my age, I can tell you that what pays me the most dividends and makes me the most happy is my relationship with my children, and
Yes.
uh, and it's pretty good. You have to talk to them. Davy Mooney, Bob Baker, jazz guitar today. Thank you so much for.
Here's the book.
Well, let's see the rest of them while we're here.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right. So this was the first one. They're all
Right,
Mel Bay. This is the one personalizing jazz
recommend.
vocabulary.
Yep,
And then the one that really delves into my whole process of learning the fretboard
yep,
was Into the Labyrinth.
love it. All right, man.
So trilogy.
Well, thanks a lot, Davey.
Thank you, Bob. I
We
always,
we
appreciate the
we
platform.
appreciate everything you do for us. You're a regular contributor, and always bringing stuff to us for people to learn, and it's really, really cool. We do appreciate you, man. Bob
Okay.
Baker with Davy Mooney for Jazz Guitar Today. See you, buddy.
See ya.
Bye bye.